Hello everyone, welcome back to my new video, or welcome to anyone who is new here. As you can already tell, today's video is going to be about Genshin Impact characters, but simplified. This idea came to my mind from my previous Genshin video, where I drew them in Halloween costumes. You can go ahead and check that out if you're curious. But the point of the video was to draw them dressed up for Halloween, but someone clearly didn't get informed. Someone who I'm currently drawing. So I had to draw him in his normal clothes, which was complicated to say the least. Now, I actually drew him a lot of times before, as I was a Kaeya main for a very long time, but I still got a headache from trying to figure out where and how does his clothes fall and fold and tingle-tangle and all that stuff. I was debating where and how much detail should I add, and so did the idea occur to me, why not try to make a simplified version of the most detailed characters from the game? I know he can take the trophy for the most detailed and complicated character design of all time, but because the idea came from drawing him, I decided he will be one of the 4 characters that I want to draw for this video. And trust me, even though he was the easiest one out of the batch, because I drew him so many times, I still had a bit of a hard time to minimize the details as much as I can and maybe change some things along the way. As you can see, this part of the video was really sped up, but that's just because I drew very slowly here, since I didn't really have a clear concept of what I wanted to do, and I was struggling with everyone's pose to get it right, or just to even come up with good ones. I only did 2 sketches of everyone because I didn't really have the time nor inspiration to do more, but I didn't even need to draw them like 1,000 times because I already saw these characters many times in game, so the only thing I had to do is to simplify them as much as I can to then make a finished drawing at the second half of the video. For Kaeya, I wanted to make the pirate sleeves a bit bigger and puffier than in-game and leave out everything gold to stay with just one color scheme, and because I didn't want to bother with small details. I just literally abandoned a lot of unnecessary clothing because those were where most of his details came from. I left him with a jacket, an undershirt kinda thing, pants of course, and his precious fur that makes him the man he is. I got this idea for the second drawing of him from a fan art I saw ages ago, and I really liked that picture. That's why I wanted to make something similar, although mine isn't that great in my opinion, but oh well, I'm still learning. And you know who's going to take that trophy that I was talking about just a second ago? Yes, you guessed it, it's Tighnari. I was debating between Alhaitham, Tighnari, and Zhongli for the second male character, but eventually I realized that it was Tighnari who had the most detail in his outfit, like just oh my god, so many details and so many clothing, and just everything is on him. I didn't really want to copy the original pose from the official art, but I wanted to do something similar because I had something in mind. I know it doesn't look that great on the sketch and I don't really like it, but it was an idea, and I was mostly focusing on how on the earth am I going to strip him from all the details, but I just realized I should just leave out the really small things and draw the main clothes, like the bigger things that I see, and then later on I can just add anything else if I want, but I didn't really want to add anything, just maybe the stripes on the pants, but I realized that would be too detailed if you get the joke, but yeah, so I left those out as well. I didn't really know what was happening behind him, so I just drew whatever I saw and whatever I remembered from the game, and I almost forgot to add his tail, but then I realized, oh my god, he is a fox, he has to have a tail. My second sketch for Tighnari was what I had in mind at first, but didn't really feel like it suits him. So I just drew it for the close-up and maybe see if I can change some things up or not. At first I didn't see the hoodies stripe things, or how do you call those, hanging from it. Wonder why? I'll tell you. Because of all the details that I didn't even want to look at. Anyways, I drew it on for just a little bit of detail, and I think that was the only thing I added more. When I stopped for a moment, I realized that I forgot to add something on his shirt beside the flower, but then I realized, is it really necessary? So I just left it out. And finally we got to our first female contestant, who is Nilou. I know it may seem that she doesn't have that many details at first, but when you look at her skirt, then her veil, then her shirt and everything, all that, so hands down she is one of the most detailed female characters in the game. And I know this may be a controversial topic, but I actually use her as a DPS. Don't come at me, anyone who plays Bloom Nilou, but I really like her and I really like her skill, so I just had to build her as a DPS. But back to the main point, it wasn't really hard to come up with an idea for the pose for her, because she is a dancer, so I already had something in mind when I was drawing Tighnari. I actually didn't have a hard time drawing her other than the skirt. Like, that's just so weird, like even in game, but on the official art it's more visible. Like, it looks like as if there was a skirt and then a hoodie around the skirt, so it was just all over the place, and I really had to just make it simple. From these angles I couldn't really see what was happening, so I just winged it because I was lazy to log into game to see it from different angles. I was really struggling with how it should fall and look, but I just came up with an idea that I will make it two separate clothing, I guess, like a skirt part, then a hanging thing from under the skirt. You can even tell by the sign that I just didn't know what was happening. On the official art, it looks like the skirt has a little bit of a gradient, but in game it looks more like two separate details. So I was thinking if I should make it a gradient or just leave it one simple color, but you'll eventually see it on the finished drawing. I had a different idea for her as well that I really liked in my head, but on paper it just didn't really look as how I wanted it to be. But this is why it's called a sketch, so it doesn't have to be perfect and it's just practice basically. And I just wanted to see what else can I come up with, but I did really like the first one, so I know I just had to go with that one for the finished drawing. Our final character for this video is going to be Dehya. She's basically suffering in the same syndrome as Nilou, doesn't have that many clothes on as for example Tighnari, but still has so many little details, which yes, you guessed it, they won't be drawn today. In a way, her design was the easiest to draw out of all of them actually, so the only thing I was mostly struggling with was the pose, because I didn't really know how to draw her. I really like her character design and story, so I wanted to make justice to her, but with this first one I just didn't feel it at all. But it doesn't matter anyway, because then I had a really good idea for the second drawing and I really liked it, so I made it up for it. Because I'm so good at being undecisive, I was thinking really hard how I should simplify her, because she did have a design of a warrior kind of person, and that's why her shorts had a ripped pattern. That's why I was ignoring her legs for so long, but in the end I made it a simple short because it wouldn't have been that visible either way. Somehow in this video I was so bad at drawing legs, but I can tell you that I'm actually pretty good at it. But I guess you can tell I haven't been drawing that much lately, so this was a really good practice. I almost made the same mistake as with Tighnari. I almost forgot to draw her cape, but when I looked at the two pictures, the capes looked totally different. I had to look up pictures on Pinterest because I don't have her in game, so I just couldn't really look at her. So I realized the cape does look like in the first picture, but I just can't see it on the second one because it's behind her in a way that I can't see it. But it didn't really matter at all because you know what's going to happen with it at the end. Yes, it's going to be simplified. So I just drew some strokes that looked like something. So, onto my second picture of her. I thought of an idea that maybe she could be stretching after fighting some eremites, I guess, maybe. I really liked how she was smiling, so I didn't really want to change that because she looked really cute and cat-like. That's why I was going back and forth drawing her eyes open and closed, but ended up going with the first idea, which was closed. In the end, I did have a lot of fun drawing her, even though it didn't start as great as I thought it would, but you know what they say, just trust the process. I know this part of the video is sped up even more, but trust me, this took me so long to finish, and because I didn't really know how and what I wanted to do, I was going really slowly. Basically, I just took my time. Petra, why are you such a sloth? And well, this isn't supposed to be a speed paint with music playing in the background. I meant to talk over all of this, but now I'm not sure if I'm going to. Each of these drawings took me around 3 to 4 hours, although it all depends on how much I was slacking. I didn't come up with anything new for the finished pieces. In a way, I was lazy. And as I said before, didn't really have the time. However, one of each sketches always came out somehow good, so I chose what I would draw from the ones I already sketched out. Did this even make any sense? Well, anyways, for Kaeya, I went with my second sketch, the reason being, well, I just liked that the most. I had fun making Kaeya, and I think I made him pretty, as I should now that I drew him countless of times. My first idea was that I'm gonna make the sword look like the jade cutter, because that's what I have on him, but the colors wouldn't have matched his colors, and it would have been too detailed. But because the video's title isn't about weapons from the game, so I dropped that idea. When I got to Tighnari, I knew I had to go with the first sketch of him, but of course make it better this time. Even though the sketching for this part didn't even take me almost half an hour to make, he still took me the longest to finish out of all the characters, mostly because of the coloring and shading process. I was really happy with how it was going until... You can now pause and have 5 seconds to guess what I for the 100th time forgot to do before coloring. I almost forgot to add volume to the line art. And I only realized that after I colored him, as I felt something was off. I didn't like how the colors looked. So I went back to the line art and did that before shading. When I was finally done with it, I turned back on the coloring layer and still felt that I didn't really like the colors, so I went back and forth to see how his colors look like on the official art, but I just still couldn't pick the right colors for him and kept reminding me of Naruto for some odd reason. I thought, oh, maybe if I start shading it in, it will look much better. Yeah, not really. So I went back to change the colors of the hair and bluish parts of the clothes. Did I make it better? I don't think so, but I can't do anything about it now. I was really excited to finally get to Nilou because I got really inspired by the first pose I did for her in the first sketch. Did the same thing with her as with Tighnari, drew the same pose but made it better. Really liked how I made the hair so flowy, unlike the skirt that I still wasn't sure about how I wanted it to look. It's not the worst but not the best, and because of this mindset, I didn't even touch it after that. Same thing happened with the whale. Wanted to make it flow along with the hair, but somehow, after so many tries, I just gave up and left it as it was. Her sleeves had around the same silhouette as Kaeya's sleeves, but because she is a dancer, so it shouldn't get in her way, of course, and I thought the original worked very good with her design, I just made it simple and I don't regret it. I probably had the most fun with her. I don't always draw flowy clothes and hair that much and poses where people are dancing, so it was very refreshing and I really enjoyed it. A few days ago, I watched a few episodes of The Wings, and because of this, her shirt reminded me of Bloom. And thinking about it now, her hair is the same color as Bloom's as well. What a weird coincidence, if I may say. And finally, our final drawing of today's video. Dehya was the only character for whom I had to think about the pose situation, but that's when I realized the second sketch turned out pretty good, so I went with that one as the final drawing. It was the face that made me choose it. There, I said it. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say this, but I think everyone knows what I forgot to add on the sketching layer that we will see in a moment. Yes, yes, that thing. These stupid freaking capes. It wasn't so hard to add those when I realized, and I actually really like how I drew them on along with the hair. I did a pretty good job even though I almost messed up. I don't really know what else to say about her actually, other than maybe that I liked her hair and cape a lot. Not just the shape, but how I colored it in. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Here are the finished drawings of everyone. You can tell me in the comments who you like the most and if I should do more parts, because heck, there's still a lot I want to simplify. My favorite is probably have to say Nilou or Dehya. But anyways, until the video finishes, you can go ahead and watch me dance for a little bit. Bye bye!